Dobro jutro, good morning, dear visitors, dear guests in Ljubljana. As you can see, my today's guest is very active, quite a perfectionist. We are going to talk today about picture books, and with me in studio is Mrs. Milena Mileva Blažić, a professor at Ljubljana University. However, Milena will be back with you in a second. First of all, I would like to ask you, has St. Nicolaus brought anything to you? As you can see here in studio, we do have some apples, we do have some tangerines, and we have also little bread-made devils. And this is usually what we got as children in Aria. Maybe some dry fruits as well. That was quite common. But as I said, these were the main gifts. There were no big gifts. But today, there is still some time to get some more presents from maybe your mothers, fathers, grandmas, grandparents. We are going to talk about fairy tales. St. Nicolaus was a real person. He died on December 6th, something like that, in the year around 350. However, when we are walking throughout of the city, everybody is just talking about charming place. I remember once I walked in the city and ahead of me there were two students, that was the end of November. And one of them said to the other one, I'm so fed up with this darkness in the city. I would really like that these lights would be switched on already tomorrow. So everybody is actually waiting for this fairy tale land. Milena, why do we like fairy tales so much?
Every time in the world, almost every 30 years, this is connected with the recession and crisis in Europe and all around the world. We need fairy tales because this is also connected with escapism, but also our basic need for something magic. And this is, and the third reason, it could be also, this is childhood memorabilia. And this childhood memorabilia, picture books or fairy tale for our childhood, they have special status, for example, as saint or sainthood. Everybody almost needs fairy tales.
So we need to keep a child within ourselves.
More or less, yes. But in a new time, for example, the fairy tales for adults start in 16th century, for children in 17th century. But fairy tales from the beginning were not aimed for the children. They are basically for adults. Nowadays, we could see that adults more need fairy tales than children.
So you said that at the beginning fairy tales were mainly written for adults?
Absolutely, at least for 200 years, and also when Charles Perrault in 17th century wrote the first fairy tale collection for children, but the texts were aimed for children, but context for adults.
But actually that's also today, don't you think so? Yes, I remember when my children were small, we read fairy tales very often. And I think I was like, oh, this is more for me than for my children.
Yes, the best fairy tales, not just fairy tales, but also literature for children, they are double coding. We call this in literary theory cross-writing. That means the best literature they have meaning for children and meaning for adults. They are like onion.
But here in our area, I think we had some problems because German language was official language here until the end of the First World War. So did we have any fairy tales in Slovenian language?
Yes, absolutely. For example, in 19th century, in the middle of the 19th century, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, they already, publish invitation to collect folk and fairy tales from Austro-Hungarian Empire, but in national languages. And then Karel Streekel starts to collect it, and he collected at least 2,000 fairy tales from 19th century in Slovenian language.
Oh, that's an exceptional work.
Absolutely. From my perspective, as far as I know, this is the huge collection from 19th century, but his fairy tales are not they are in manuscript version.
Manuscript version. On Sunday, there was opening of the 100th anniversary of picture book, first Slovenian picture book, and this was actually this one, Martin Krpan.
Martin Krpan is officially the first Slovenian picture book, but we start with picture books, for example, 5th century BC. For example, Situla from Vač is the first Slovenian picture book. For example, we also have for 16th century as a picture book, we also have Valvazor, Glory of Duchy, but this is a picture book for adults. And for example, painted beehive banners from 18th century, they have the status of picture books. And the picture books for children all around Europe, they start in 19th century. In Slovenia, we started with some pictures, but Martin Krpan, this is the pattern all around Europe. This is adult classics that become for children in picture books. Because he is from Slovenia, illustrator is from Slovenia, it was Austro-Hungarian Empire, and this is national hero Martin Krpan.
Please. I wanted to ask you, Milena,
Yes,
because
please.
this is very intriguing. Sometimes we are discussing with our friends, how come a hero, a smuggler?
No, sorry, Matea, I really appreciate your efforts, but this is pop interpretation, and a lot of people like to connect Martin Krpan with this, that he is smuggler. That means that people don't, I would like to apologize the audience, but Martin Krpan originally, Fran Leostik wrote two different style of Martin, first and the second part of Martin Krpan. And according to folk and fairy tales, Martin Krpan was, we call this in folk and fairy tale language, fortune with salt. And Martin Krpan took the grapes from Postojna or Vrh to Trieste and bought in Trieste salt and bring it back. In the second part of Martin Krpan, written by Leostik, we could find that Martin Krpan would like to legalize his activity, and he asked for a special, how to say, permission.
License.
Yes, but if you know the second part, and they took back this permission and put the Martin Krpan in jail, and this is connected with fairy tales by Hans Christian Andersen. Tinderbox. We don't know that, but if we compare first and the second part, we know that Martin Krpan was not smuggler.
Okay,
Sorry.
excellent. That's very good feeling.
Yes, but because this is the contact Odaya, sorry.
Yes.
For international audience, I would like to say this Martin Krpan is archetypical hero, and he is connected with Odyssey and Polypheme. He is also connected with David and Goliath and Pegam and Lambergen. And this is just Slovenian version of this archetypical motive that is old 2,500 years.
That's very nice that you explained to us. Namely, this guy, Martin Krpan, with his little mare, is greeting us in Ljubljana every hour on the hour from the clock tower of the Puppet Theatre. You know, the Puppet Theatre is next to the funicular, very close to our market, across Slovenian Tourist Information Office. And don't forget, every hour on the hour, this Martin Krpan is coming out with his little mare.
May I add something that would be interesting for the international audience? Fran Leostik was also translated Hans Christian Andersen for German language, and it is important that Hans Christian Andersen twice in his life visited Ljubljana, and he slept in Hotel Stadt Wien in Ljubljana. For example, according to folk and fairy tales, in National Library we also have two original letters by Jakob Grimm, That is also very interesting. And for example, the third information, Srečko Kosovel translated Andersen into Slovenian language, but from German.
Yeah, that's very good to know, because that brings us in this international world, and it's perfect for us local guides to do the linking also with the areas where our guests come from. I asked you about some picture books from Slovenia to do a kind of a selection. I know that was a difficult task. However, you chose few of them. And I think some of them are also connected with our Ljubljana, because we are local guides from Ljubljana. So this kind of fairy tales we need to include in our presentations. Which ones would you choose from these ones here?
For example, I will divide it with between my personal taste and taste by children. For example, this is one of the most famous and most popular picture book written by Kaja Tanković. This is Tom Cat's Tom, or Muri the Cat. This is very popular, and we have this picture book also as a printed book, as an e-book, as a game, as a toy, as a radio play, as puppets and so on. But from international tourist guide, this book is very interesting because it's connected on a very interesting point of view. Valvazor picture books, and also Nico Grafenauer poem about this medieval part of Ljubljana, with a beautiful illustration written, painted by Kamila Volčanšek. This is some of the very nice example of this. I would like maybe to add also Ciciban, written by Oton Župančić. Oton Župančić was one of the, how to say, best children's author, and he invented Ciciban. Ciciban became the common name also for preschool or primary school child, and this is also very nice picture book. Maybe I don't know if international audience know something about Resia.
Not so much, but we can tell them, you know, it's always a part of interpretation.
Because Resia is one part of Slovenian language between Austria, Italy, and also Slovenia, and they spoke, for example, 4 languages. And you could find in Resia folk and fairy tales, we could find the national heritage from Austria, Italy, and also Slovenia. And really you could find such archetypes in this fairy tale, but they spoke their own language, and we have some problem with understanding.
My children, or I used to talk a lot about this kitty.
Yeah.
She helped me all the time with cleaning our homes, because she took care of all the slippers that were not in the right place.
In my professional life, I differentiate between popular picture books and really good picture books. For example, Cat Took My Slippers. This is absolutely very popular, and this year I think it is 60-year anniversary of Muca Copatarica, Cat Took My Slippers, and the children in preschool and also in primary school in 1st grade, they use these fairy tales as socializing children. But from the literary point of view, absolutely Sapra the Mouse. If you read this literary text, this is also in different media, for example, in Puppet Theater. I think they had 2000...
it's a very popular
It's absolutely popular, but this is also literary text. If you read this literary text, you could find that it is written according to Joseph Campbell, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. You could find behind this literary text the logic and the philosophy.
And another, my favorite one, is this one.
This is Slovenian variant, Mary Poppins.
Yes.
My Umbrella Could Fly. This is also very popular folk and fairy tales, but from my literary point of view, here you could find also beautiful illustration with the topics from Ljubljana. But behind this literary text, you could find hidden adults, because these girls are going from real to fantastic imaginary world, and she resolved the problem of adults. But however, it is absolutely nice, Mary Poppins,
So
Slovenian.
thank you very much, Milena. Namely, tonight at 5 o'clock, we're going to have a fairy tale tour in Ljubljana. So everybody who would like to join us to discover all these heroes in the city, you're warm welcome. Afterwards, this fairy tale tour, we are going to finish in our National and University Library, where you prepared an exhibition of 100th anniversary of the picture books. And could you add something to this exhibition?
This exhibition, if you would like, you could just use visual reading, because we publish so many covers. But if you are interested, you could also read about this, and you could make comparative analysis between Slovenian development of Slovenian picture books and your own country. But you could see that Slovenia is just one part of European country in international context. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Milena. Thank you very much also for your attention. We hope that this day is going to be another interesting day in Ljubljana, and looking forward to see you tomorrow morning again. Hvala lepa in nasvidenje.